We're here in Bagnères de Luchon, which is the start of stage 17 of the 2018 Tour de France. Now this is going to be a really exciting and special stage because unusually it's only 65 kilometers long but still has 3,200 meters of climbing. So today we're going to recon the stage and I'm joined by Pete Cossins, who's a cycling journalist and author of many great books, I should add.
Thank you. Thanks.
So Pete, for those who aren't familiar with today's stage, myself sort of included, what have we got in store?
Well, we're in Bagnères de Luchon, which is one of the Tour's great hubs. We've got the Col de Peyresourde, which is up over our right shoulders up here, which is the first climb right from the start. We go over the top of the Peyresourde, straight down onto the climb to Val Louron, the Ascent as it's also known. Then we go up what is a new climb for the Tour, the Col de Portet, which people might be familiar with Plateau de Beille, which used to be a stage finish in the 70s and 80s. We go past Plateau de Beille for another 800 vertical meters to the Col de Portet into the snow.
Yeah, well, that should be quite interesting, yeah, because there's still a bit of snow. It's May right now when we're doing this, so yeah, it might be a bit colder than when they do it in July.
All the riders they'll be warming up on rollers, definitely, because it's uphill right from the start. There'll be attacks right from the start. I mean, if they're riding 65 kilometers, any rider in the bunch can ride full out for 65k. So it's going to be flat out from the start. And obviously that means with the GC guys, they're going to get isolated pretty quickly. You're going to see all the yellow jersey contenders riding in a group together without any teammates. And it's just going to be like full on racing for the whole stage probably.
Does that mean you're going to be attacking me from the gun today as well?
Unlikely, Ollie, unlikely.
Good. So we've just headed out of Bagnères de Luchon and we're heading on the lower slopes of the Peyresourde now. So we're going quite leisurely right now, Pete, but how do you think it'll be playing out right now in the stage?
They won't be going leisurely like this. It'll be full on right from the start. There'll be, well, a team like Sky, for instance, they'll want to get their riders all up at the front, setting a pace. There'll be teams trying to shake off other leaders, trying to find out who's on a bad day. So they'll be going full bore up here. It's only 65k, remember, so they can do that pretty much all day.
And I think because it is such a short stage at just 65 kilometres, I think there's a very, very strong possibility you're going to get 65 kilometres of action, rather than on other stages in the past where you've had a long stage with a big summit finish. Stages that are so hard on paper, but very long. There's a tendency, I think, for a lot of the riders to kind of sit up and ride quite easy until the final climb. They're still going very fast, but relatively speaking, easy for a pro. The Peyresourde is a climb that's been used in the Tour many times, especially in recent history. 2012, Wiggins' victory included the Peyresourde. Recently Froome as well.
Yeah, I mean, Thomas Voeckler's won a couple of times into here, coming off the Porte de Beille, which we come on, or we go past that just up round the corner here. Froome's won here. Memorable win coming off the descent over the Peyresourde into Bagnères de Luchon behind us. I mean, it's probably featured 60, 70 times on the Tour de France route, so it's one of the classic climbs.
Absolute classic. The side we're coming up from Bagnères de Luchon, the steepest bit is sort of in the first quarter of the climb. There's a section of sort of 12%, well, where it hits a maximum of 12%, but yeah, it's generally about 6-7% gradient, so not too bad.
It'll be interesting to see how early the gruppetto forms, because even at this point,
I think it's formed now.
It could well be. They could go off so fast that there'll be 50, 60 riders out the back straight away.
If you're a gruppetto rider on a day like today and you get a puncture in the first 5k, you're going to have a horrible time trying to make time cut. At the top of the Peyresourde, we're going to go straight down the other side of the Peyresourde to get to the next climb. But last year, the Tour went up there and turned left, didn't it, up to the Peyresourde ski resort.
Yeah, and onto the Altiport.
Yeah, where there's the famous sort of mountain ski jump runway that I believe was used in James Bond as well.
That's right, I can't remember which film it was, but one of the villains' lairs up there, I think.
Yeah.
Right, we're on the last section of the climb now. You can see we're on the last couple of kilometres. These are behind us here. You can see these big buttresses. These are really the only proper hairpins on the Peyresourde up near the top. There's one that switches back into the corner there, another one up there, and you can actually see the sign at the top up there, which is
just where those trees are.
That's where the trees are there, yeah, just up on the top there.
Nice. And the best thing about the top of the Peyresourde is it's got a creperie there. So I don't know about you, Pete, but I'm going to have a massive crepe when we get to the top.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it. Also, I don't think the pros will be stopping for a crepe, will they?
Definitely not.
That's why it's better doing what we're doing than being a pro. Oh, God. Falling off.
Beat you up there.
So we've just come off the descent of the Col de Peyresourde, and we have a very brief flat intersection which we're on now before we start the second of the stages climbs, which is the Col de
Col d'Azay. It's interesting riding along here because I've had a flashback to the 2003 tour, the fifth one that Armstrong won. Coming up to the lake here at Loudonvielle, there was a stage finish here. They came down off the Peyresourde and finished in this little town. I think Gilberto Simoni won the stage that day. And I remember all the team buses being parked along here. It was a baking hot day. Trying to get Alexander Vinokurov to say something interesting at the end of the stage, which I failed miserably to do. And it's just funny when you're riding through areas like this, you get these little flashbacks of races that you've been on and people you've spoken to.
This climb is quite a bit shorter than the Peyresourde, but significantly steeper. There's several bits that are sort of double figure gradients, and you go up it a lot slower, but it is shorter.
So you roll past the lake here, which you might be able to see over to that side.
Pretty late.
And then you come up into this little village, and the climb basically just switches back to the left and up, straight up.
So the Azay is, it's not as long as the Peyresourde, but being that bit steeper, I just think this is where we will probably start to see damage being done. I think there's a good few people are going to get dropped on this climb.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens with the guys chasing behind as well, because the side they come down the Peyresourde, it's much shorter than when they go up, so they've only got 9-10k of road they can kind of chase back on. And if they're still going full bore at the front, that might not be an easy job at all. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how guys like Bardet, good descenders, attack the descents on these passes. Will they save themselves for the end, or will they try and put the pressure on a bit?
I think, yeah, especially on the Peyresourde, I can't see race-winning moves going on that descent. But what I think is a good tactic is for the better GC descenders to put pressure on their rivals, because we've seen in the past Grand Tours can be decided by putting pressure on arrival on a descent and then making a big mistake. You know, classic recent example, Nibali putting pressure on Steven Kruijswijk, yeah.
Completely, yeah.
The lower part of this climb is got plenty of trees, and then we get up to the top and there's the sort of gliders and the paragliders that set off from the top. So I think we're just going to crack on with this one and get up to the descent. See you at the top. We're at the top of the Azé now, and it's a really cool point because it's pretty much the halfway point of the stage, and you can see all of where we've come from and where we're going as well. So how cool is this? You can see the Peyresourde, the descent, just where those trees are, coming through that little notch, and the road coming down. You can see it all where we've come, and then into the valley, which I think that's pretty awesome.
And also, if you look just to the right of it there, you can see the resort, which is actually Peyresourde. And just very faintly, you can see the runway, the Altiport, where the tour stage finished last year, where Froome got dropped at the end, going up the hill where the planes land.
The James Bond runway.
The James Bond runway, that's it, yeah.
I'm loving the scenery around here though, it's really beautiful. These roads are awesome. I think like it'll be a great stage for fans to come and ride themselves, because it's not too long. You can do it and make a day of it, and
just take your time, yeah. Definitely take your time on this last climb, that's for sure.
Right. Let's do it. Let's go, let's carry on. This is the first major hairpin bend of Plateau de Beille, which doesn't really have many hairpins, and it comes after about 1 kilometre of riding up the slope, and it's really steep. It's already like 10–12% along here, pretty killer. And this hairpin is marked, which is pretty cool, by a plaque as well.
This is Raymond Poulidor, Poupou as he's known to all the French, who...
Slightly less flattering name in English.
Indeed, yeah. The Eternal Second, they also called him, because he never won the Tour de France, never wore the yellow jersey, but he did win stages in the Tour, and Plateau de Beille is one of them. He was riding in the 74 Tour. He attacked, as it says, at this point. I mean, it's brutally steep here, so it's a good place to attack.
It's a long way. If you're attacking from this point, that's a long way out. Yeah. That is pretty heroic.
So he's got like maybe 8–9 kilometres of climbing still to do. And he was 38 years old at that point, and Eddie Merckx was leading the race, couldn't chase him down, let him go, and Poulidor won, finished second in Paris, one of, I don't know how many times he finished second, but several. He finished 8 times on the podium anyway.
We're going to carry on going up the climb now towards the ski resort of Plateau de Beille, and along that section, each kilometre has a kilometre sign marker that tells you, rather ominously, what the next kilometre has in store. And depressingly on this climb, everyone seems to sort of say 10, 11, 10, 12, 10, and it's like, oh God, come on then, if we have to.
Let's go.
The point we're at now is the turn-off to go up to the Col de Portet, and the sign is just there, and it heads off up this road, and you can see that the road quality changes from being, well, a road to sort of potholes and lots of gravel. So yeah, it's going to be interesting going up that bit.
It's interesting actually. You can see just behind us there, that's the road to the ski resort of Plateau de Beille. That's where we were talking about Raymond Poulidor winning a tour stage back in the 70s. That's where they traditionally go. And they did have a plan to come up and do this climb up here, up to the Col de Portet in the 80s or 90s. It never came off. But from here, I mean, you can't see the sign behind here, but it says we've got eight kilometres of climbing now, and we've got 600 vertical metres again. And I mean, to be honest, this is the best part of this road going up. It's going to get a lot worse than this.
It's just a whole nother beast adding the Portet onto the top. It's higher than the Tourmalet.
It is higher than the Tourmalet, yeah. Highest place in the French Pyrenees a tour has ever been.
Right.
So what do you make of this then, Ollie?
This is absolutely bonkers. This is ridiculous. I mean, I've heard conflicting reports. I don't know about you. Some people saying it's going to be resurfaced, other people saying it's not going to be resurfaced for the tour.
They've got to do something. I mean, I feel like I need a gravel bike. I'd be even happier with a mountain bike. And it's like I'm riding up a forest trail somewhere in the woods at my house.
It's certainly making it a lot harder. I'm having to pump out a lot more power to go the same speed than I normally would on tarmac. And I'm glad that I've got these 28mm tyres fitted on the Scott. It's definitely coming in handy right now. We're also starting to head up now at just above 2,000 meters altitude, and at this point, I don't know about you, but I feel the altitude biting.
Yes.
Like, you just can't perform like you can, you know, down on the lower slopes.
I would imagine if they do leave it like this, you can't ride in a group, because if you're behind anybody,
And you have to turn.
yeah, you're just going to be constantly weaving.
I don't think they're going to be in a big bunch at this point in the stage though. I think there's going to be serious casualties by the time the leaders reach this point.
So last K, Ollie, little
Yeah.
bit of a surprise here.
Yeah, there's a tunnel.
There's a tunnel.
And it is also not paved and has the added bonus of you can't see where you're going or what you're riding through, but I mean, it feels like mud that I'm riding through right now. I'm just hoping I don't stack it.
A little bit for the Paris-Roubaix specialists, maybe. Because that's what it feels like.
Because if they don't end up paving this tunnel, then you could see a situation where someone goes in one end but doesn't come out the other.
Daylight. It's actually kind of reminiscent of the Zoncolan, actually, when you come through that tunnel and there's this huge bank above you. Fantastic natural arena. I mean, you can't see with the camera, but down below I can see the road weaving its way up through the cloud there.
We've done it. We've reached the top of the Col de Portet, and you can't tell right now because the cloud has just started to roll in, but the views up here are absolutely stunning, and it's been absolutely amazing climbing. But what have you made of the whole stage, Pete?
It's going to be really interesting. I mean, I think we all knew that beforehand, but in terms of what the riders have got to deal with, it's going to be something very, very new for them. Riding probably flat out for 65k, like you said, 38k of climbing, very, very little flat riding at all. Could be full on right from the start. And then, I mean, this final climb is absolutely unbelievable. It's got a little bit of everything. It's a bit like Alpe d'Huez at the bottom. You've got a tunnel, you've got bits of gravel. It's just absolutely astounding.
We're going to go get some tea now because we're cold, tired and hungry. But
I've been promised lasagna and tiramisu, somebody said as we were coming up.
Nice. So we hope you found this video entertaining and useful. And if you have, then why not give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to the Cycling Weekly channel. But we want to know your predictions for stage 17. What do you think is going to happen? Who do you think is going to win? And do you think this is the toughest Tour de France stage we've had in recent memory? Let us know in the comments section below. And we'll see you next time. Cheers.